Hi everybody, Shirley Plant here, creator of deliciousalternatives.com, a website you can go to find help and guidance, food and recipes within the confines of food allergies, dietary restrictions, and for those of you who are simply looking for healthier options. Today I am chatting with my good friend Sue. I always have a hard time with your last name. I don't know why.
Ingebretson.
Ingebretson. There we go, Ingebretson. Sue is an author, speaker, workshop facilitator, and holistic healthcare practitioner. She specializes in caring for clients with fibromyalgia, ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, hormonal thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, and weight management. Today, she and I are going to talk food and food sensitivities. Foods that make us thrive and foods that deplete us that can sometimes make our conditions worse. I truly believe we're all individualistic and some of us do better eating certain foods, yet I do believe that all of us do much better when we remove foods like gluten, dairy, and sugar from our diet. You know, those refined, pre-packaged foods that have no nutritional value. I always say to my clients, eat fresh, wholesome foods. It's the best you can do for yourself. I like to say, if it's got an ingredient list on it, or, you know, one of those nutrition analysis boxes, yeah, not the best idea, not that healthy. When dealing with autoimmune conditions, there are different schools of thought, and Sue and I are going to talk a little bit about that. Certainly, you know, for example, Dr. Terry Walls has helped herself to go into remission from her multiple sclerosis following a paleo diet. Dr. Mark Hyman talks about sort of a paleo vegan diet. You know, people like Chris Carr from Crazy Sexy Cancer, she advocates more of a vegetarian, but really I think all of us are talking about eating real food, fresh food. That's really important. Today, Sue and I will talk about foods that have helped us on our journey to wellness, on our road with living with fibromyalgia. I do believe it's really important to listen to your body. You are the best judge of your body, and only you know which foods will fuel it and which ones will deplete it. Most people with autoimmune diseases have food sensitivities or food allergies and are unaware of this. So it's important to know if you do have food allergies and food sensitivities, and there's certainly different testing. You know, there's blood testing, but remember that there's no test that's 100% accurate. A lot of people, what they choose to do is to follow an elimination diet. It's an inexpensive way of finding out which foods you are reacting to, and I talk more about elimination diets on my site, Delicious Alternatives. Doctors also, when you're dealing with autoimmune, it's important to know if gluten is affecting you. I truly believe that gluten does affect those with autoimmune conditions. Most doctors test for celiac disease. They do not test for gluten sensitivity. Two very different things. I've had many clients come and they say, I've had to test for celiac disease. I don't have celiac disease. I can eat gluten. And I say, but you have not been tested if you are gluten sensitive. And I'm going to have a whole video series dedicated to that next month with my pre-launch series for my 21-day gluten, dairy, sugar-free online challenge. So Sue, I'm so glad you're here. Let's talk about foods and food sensitivities.
Oh, great. And I apologize for disappearing for a second there. My laptop wasn't plugged in, and it all of a sudden said, going, gone. I cannot wait to watch that video that you're going to do on gluten sensitivity, because it is such a huge topic, and it's something that we need to address. And I'm so glad that you're going to do it, because that takes the burden off of me, because what I do is the constant education to show the connection between fibromyalgia and these food sensitivity issues, because as you experience and as I experience, we see over and over again where clients, where our readers, where people are told, you don't have celiac, so therefore these foods are not a problem, and that could not be further from the truth, and that in itself is keeping people sick. So it's such an important topic. There's a difference between celiac and a sensitivity, an intolerance, but that's not the important part. The important part is to know that you, as an individual, need to determine what that level is, how you feel with a specific food group, and then how you feel when that food group is removed. And there's a whole process to it that Shirley does better than anyone. And that whole process will help people understand how they can feel better by learning what works for them. And we all know these basic food groups, the wheat gluten, the sugar, dairy, processed stuff, and certainly the excitotoxins like NutraSweet and MSG and things like that. So when we can get rid of those types of things, it is amazing how much better we can feel. And you mentioned these people that I just love, Mark Hyman and Chris Carr and others, and they may term what they eat differently, and I might even term what I eat differently, but what I look for are the similarities, not the differences. And so I like everyone you listed, and I couldn't agree more, and I respect what they follow, and I agree, because there are similarities in everything. And just what you said, similarities are whole, nutrient-dense, fiber-rich, natural foods. And when the body is given what it needs to heal, it's just amazing what can happen.
It's so true, and I don't know if for you, did you follow an elimination diet? Is that how you found out the foods that were playing a role in your health?
Yes, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. I did it all in complete ignorance. I was so sick, I was so desperate, I would have done anything. And I started removing foods just because I was annoyed with what my doctor was saying, and I wanted to prove him wrong on something really minor. And so I was going to be obstinate and remove a whole bunch of foods from my diet. He didn't even mention diet. But I was going to make this lifestyle change so that I could prove he was wrong on something, and it ended up shooting me off on a trajectory I never would have expected. So I was able to heal my body. I love saying that, yes, I still have fibromyalgia, but it does not have me. I am not impacted anywhere near where I used to be. I live with 5-10% the pain that I used to have, and it started with food. Healing my body started with food.
And I truly believe that. I so believe that food is, if not the most important component in wellness. And, I know it's difficult because when you're not well, both you and I know that we don't have the energy, to go out and buy the fresh foods all the time. It's not like you can do that one shop and it's going to last for 2 weeks. No, you want the fresh foods. And if there's anyone that can help you, a neighbor or anything, so that you can always be incorporating those fresh foods into your diet. Because certainly for me, when I first found out, I was so addicted to sugar. I didn't know I was addicted to sugar, and that's why
Right.
I created this whole 21-day challenge. And it's interesting because the challengers don't think they're addicted to sugar either, and
Right.
soon realize, and that's really all I wanted. I sort of craved the sugar. It was easy. They were packaged, even the pastas and all that prepackaged food, because it was simple and easy. But really, it's not what our body needs. We need whether we can juice, whether we can eat fresh salads. We need those vital nutrients to help us to heal. So what are some of the foods that you realized really were not doing your body very well at all?
One of the biggest things I was missing is I was not drinking water. Wahoo! How simple is that? That was pretty darn fundamental. And then I realized that the crackers and, just junk that I ate, anything in a bag, box, or can, those are the types of things that were go-to foods. And this is what happens now with clients is they'll say, I rarely eat packaged foods, I'm not addicted to sugars, so on and so forth. And I've created a tool that has all mapped out, and then as we sit here together and go through a basic meal plan of what they're eating, 99% of the time they can dramatically see that just about, at least 80 to 100% of what they eat is in this packaged, fast, quick category, which, just as you said, these are nutrient deficient foods, empty calorie foods. And so when they're not feeding the body what it needs to heal, it has nothing to go on. It's got no fuel. I always say it's like, running a car running on fumes. So that's exactly what I found. And when I started incorporating foods that were actually live, living, vegetables and foods, again, drinking water, eating vegetables, I still eat proteins and, healthy fats. Those are the macronutrients. As I started to add those in, I found an immediate reduction in swelling of my hands. I had these issues of swallowing and feeling like I was choking. That diminished. I can't say my pain went away. It's just, it doesn't work like that. It took time for that to go away, and it took other practices, my fitness practices and my stress management practices. So it took, the whole combination approach. But food was the beginning. Food was the most impactful and fastest tool that I used to heal. So I think it's important to express that, yes, I have fibromyalgia. I was at a point of near disability. I did walk with a cane. I was given by the medical authorities no hope, no future. I was told, scooter chair is next. And so that's why I'm so passionate about sharing the news that the body is just on the cusp. It's just waiting to heal, and it's just waiting to be given what it needs to do so.
And that's why I love what you do, and I love your book and your website, because it's so true. We get to a point where, we're just so desperate, and it's just so difficult to live day to day in that pain. I mean, you and I both know that, and I'm like you, it's not all gone, but wow, I'm so much better than I was. And what you mentioned about water, that's so key. Years ago, I would have maybe one glass of water.
Right.
If that. And so, and it took a long time, and it was like I almost had to pencil it in, or I had to have glasses of water around the house, because your body is so dehydrated. And you start to drink water, and then of course you're running to the bathroom all the time because your cells really aren't even absorbing it. It's just going right through you. And then eventually you start to hydrate yourself. And I don't know about you, I love putting some lemon juice, half a lemon squeezed in the morning. That's always how I start my day. It gets the detoxing going. It's a great way to break the fast before I have my breakfast. And for me, breakfast, it's different things on different days depending on how I'm feeling. I try and start my day with a healthy fat or a protein. I unfortunately am allergic to both dairy and eggs, so they're out for me. But like this morning, I grabbed my blender and I took a whole avocado, and I took half of a frozen banana and a couple of tablespoons of hemp seed and a heaping teaspoon of chia seed with some water, and I blended it, and it's like a pudding. And it's got that hint of sweet because of the banana, because sometimes I just still like a little sweet in the morning. Again, it depends on the day, but I've got my avocado, my healthy fat, and to me it just goes down so easily. I don't have to chew. I still do chew because it's so important to chew, right, no matter what we're eating, to get those enzymes and the saliva going. But people will say to me, I have no idea what to eat in the morning, and I always say, well, we can go back to healthy eggs and healthy meats, but please stay away from the sugars. Please stay away from the cereals, the Pop-Tarts, the donuts. Even if they're gluten-free, it's still a donut. A gluten-free donut, a gluten-free muffin is still a donut, a muffin, a cookie. And
Right.
it's just, unless it's chock full of, I mean, I do make homemade cookies for myself, and they're full of nut butter and hemp seed and coconut oil and coconut milk and pumpkin puree, things like
Right.
that. So, I totally agree with you. And, maybe you can just share some of your breakfast go-tos.
Well, that's great. It's not right now, but I actually wrote an ebook on the topic because that whole ebook is on what's for breakfast. Because we want to believe that breakfast, and this didn't even start until the 40s, that breakfast has to be cereal and toast and pastries and all this nonsense. And so what I say over and over is that my breakfast does not look like any other meal of the day. It depends on what I have on hand. It could be soup, it could be stew, it could be chili, it could be a smoothie. I had a smoothie yesterday. And I'm very careful to rotate and have different things on different days, and not the same thing all the time. It could be eggs, but every meal that I have has vegetables, some sort of fresh veggies, fresh greens, has healthy protein, and has healthy fat. So I'm a big fan of the avocado. I'm a big fan of coconut and coconut fat and coconut oil, and that's in just about everything I eat. So it's a wide variety. It's not a limited diet. It is the world of abundance of foods put in all these different combinations with great tastes and flavors and spices, and so I enjoy whatever I happen to have on hand. It could be chicken. I had a wrap this morning. My breakfast this morning was a lettuce wrap with a romaine, and I had some hormone-free great chicken that I'd made, and I put a olive tapenade in there. That was a chopped
Yum.
up olives, and so it had this great olive flavor. I put in some raw sunflower seeds, and I probably a dollop of coconut oil, I don't remember, and wrap that up in the romaine, and oh my gosh, amazing burst of flavor and crunch, and just a great combo. So again, every meal has some sort of greens, has the healthy protein, and has healthy fats.
And I think that, as you said, it's so important. It's what you've got on hand, and it's important
Mhm.
to. I always recommend, if people, exactly, why not have breakfast for dinner? I mean, dinner for breakfast.
Yep.
Make extra dinner so that you've got leftovers that you can have for breakfast and you can have for lunch. If we lived in a different part of the world, if we didn't live in North America, maybe we would have fish for breakfast, or an avocado and a good corn tortilla. It's just that you're right. We're in North America, and we've been programmed to have the sugary cereals and the muffins and go through the drive-through, and this is just not helping us. It's not helping us for autoimmune. It's not helping us for diabetes. You name it. So, and you touched on something that I think you and I, the next time we get together, we're going to chat about is rotation, because for many of us that
Love it.
have sensitivities, often we just take out the food that we're sensitive to, and we find another food and we eat it day in and day out, and many times we then develop a sensitivity to that food. So we're going to talk
Yes.
next time we get together about rotation and how important that is as well for those of us that have these issues and these sensitivities. So is there anything
Perfect.
else that you wanted to share before we sign off today?
No, and I love this conversation, and I'm just so excited that you're sharing this with your listeners, and I'll share it with my listeners. It's so important to know that there is not only hope, but there is a recipe. There is a recipe for healing, and these natural foods are readily available. And maybe next time we can also talk on the topic that you brought up of the energy of cooking, shopping, all of that, and how that works, because it isn't just something that happens. It has to be an intentional plan, and I love that. That's the part I love. I love getting into that plan and creating that for my readers and for the community, my Rebuilding Wellness community at large. So I'm really excited to go on this journey with you.
That's great. And I think, I always invite people to ask us questions and leave comments here. If there's any way that either of us can help you, please let us know. You certainly have access to our sites, and you can come and ask us individual questions there as well. So it sounds like our next discussion is going to be about rotation, and it's going to be giving you some facts and tools on, how to go grocery shopping, what to put into that grocery cart, how to do it economically, because I know a lot of people say, oh, well, it's very expensive to eat this way, and you know what? It's actually not. When we take away all those foods that are in boxes and cans, and we eat just fresh, it's actually not anymore. It's just that when you're trying to do everything, you're still buying, quote, the junk, the fast food, and a bit of the fresh. So we'll give you some tools of what to buy, where to go, a few ideas of what recipes to make, and how to do it economically, as well as rotation. So I look forward to our next discussion, Sue. Thank you so much for being here. I love chatting with you. And everybody, tune in and let us know, is there a topic you would like us to discuss? Is there something that we could help you with? We'd be thrilled to do that for you. Again, thanks so much, Sue, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.